Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between. I'd like to welcome members, officers, and members of the public to this meeting of the Letchworth Committee. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain how proceedings will work.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. Please note this meeting is being streamed live on the Council's YouTube channel. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on the microphone unit. Please wait for the Chair's invitation before you begin. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown on the screens around the room, and the result will be visible on the YouTube stream. In the event of a tied vote, the Chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start? Okay, I'll hand back to the Chair.
Thank you, Eleanor. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor David Levitt and Councillor Terry Hone, and I can see... yes, Councillor Derbyshire?
Councillor Bloxham is running late.
Wonderful. We look forward to him arriving. Minutes for approval for the 14th of December 2022. I'd like to propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 14th of December 2022. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Allen.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a second, Chair.
Are there any comments on the minutes? Nope. Excellent. In that case, we can go to the vote on the minutes, please.
Chair, that motion is carried.
Notification of any other business. There is no other business advised. Chair's announcements. In accordance with council policy, this meeting will be audio and video recorded and streamed live via YouTube. The audio recording will be available via mod.gov and the video available on YouTube. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the Chair's announcements on the agenda. For the purposes of clarification, 4.8.23a of the Constitution does not apply to this meeting. Therefore, a member may leave the room during the debate and consideration of that item and still be able to vote. However, please be mindful of the business of the agenda and wherever possible, leave at an appropriate point in the proceedings. For those of you that look confused, it's a new thing that's come in so that we can nip to the loo if we need to. Number 5, Herfordshire Constabulary. I'd like to invite Police Sergeant Lisa Perks from the Safer Neighbourhood team to provide an update on the works being done in the Letchworth area. Thank you very much.
Evening. As I said, I'm Sergeant Lisa Perks from the neighbourhood team. I'm based at Letchworth and I'm responsible for Letchworth Garden City and Baldock. But just to sort of clarify, there are 3 sergeants on the neighbourhood team. One's based in Royston, the other one's based in Hitchin. But we have staff right away across the 3 stations. So it sounds a bit confusing, but I'm the sergeant for Letchworth and Baldock, but I have staff in Royston and Hitchin as well. So I've quite a good overview of what's happening in the area. I've been asked to give details on crime throughout the year. The figures that I'm going to quote are from the 1st of April 22 to the 12th of March 23. I'm just going to reel off the figures unless someone tells me to stop and ask the question. So all crime in general in Letchworth, there was 2,600 crimes in total compared to 1,718 last year. That's an increase in nearly 20%. In North Herts, there was crimes to the total of 5,975 compared to 5,558 last year, so an increase in 7.5%. In the county overall, there's been an increase in crime in 2.7%. In particular for burglaries, residential burglaries in Letchworth, we've had 53 this year compared to 45 last year. That's an increase in 17%. In North Herts in general, we've had 304 burglaries compared to 286 last year. So that's a 6.3%. And burglaries in the county have generally gone up by 2.3%. Burglary businesses. In Letchworth, we've had 63 this year, which is an increase by a big percentage, 140%. There was only 26 last year, so that's gone up quite considerably. And in North Herts, overall burglaries, business burglaries have gone up. We've had a total of 143 compared to 96 last year. We've been using our messaging quite a lot. Our figures have gone up so we can reach out to quite a few people to make them aware that premises have been burgled, and we use a system called cocooning, which is basically linking in with people in the street, neighbours, to establish if there's any witnesses to what's happened, any Ring doorbell footage, CCTV and crime prevention advice. The other figures are theft from motor vehicle. In Letchworth, there were 79 this year compared to 53 last year. That's a 49% increase. In North Herts, there was 284 this year. Last year, 242. Our biggest increase in theft from motor vehicles has been Wilbury Ward. There's 16 reports for this year just gone compared to 5 last year, and that is due to quite a large increase in catalytic convertible thefts. We've been doing some work around that. If anybody wants me to clarify a bit more around that afterwards. Robbery, that's personal robbery. In Letchworth, there's been 14 in the past year compared to 6 last year. In North Herts in general, there was 53 this year, and last year was 58. Violence against person, which would include all assaults, stalking, harassment and malicious communications. There was 844 this year compared to 845 last year. In North Herts this year, there was 2,281 cases compared to 2,370 last year. Criminal damage and arson. It's going to be mostly criminal damage. In Letchworth, there was 232 cases this year compared to 188 last year. In North Herts, overall, this year, there's 795 compared to 660 last year. Shopliftings in Letchworth, there was 181 this year, and last year there was 92. In North Herts in general, there was 452 cases of shopliftings compared to 300 last year. Drug possession offences have gone down to 41 cases compared to 56 last year. And as I sort of previously touched on, our neighbourhood watch system, we are continually growing and working on that. Public order offences are up to 137 cases compared to last year's 129. And possession of offensive weapons has gone up to 17 cases from 12 last year. That's the figures for the past year, and I'm sure most of you are aware of our priorities that we have, that we set every 3 months. At the moment, they are theft from motor vehicles with regards to the cat converters and number plates that are being stolen. That has been happening across the district. The second one is speeding in Norton Road, Letchworth. And the third one is the unlawful use of e-scooters in Letchworth Town Centre. So that's a quick summary of us throughout the year.
Thank you very much. Could I just confirm one thing? At the very beginning, you mentioned the total number of crimes in Letchworth, and then compare it to the total number of crimes in the whole of the county.
Do you want me to go over that again?
I believe it was 2,600 for Letchworth, was it?
Yeah, so there was for all crimes between those the 1st of April 22 and the 12th of the 3rd this year. In Letchworth, there was 2,060 crimes overall compared to last year, which was 1,718. In North Herts, there was 5,975. Last year, 5,558.
Okay.
And then, did you want the county figure?
No, that was the North
North
Herts one, was
Herts.
the one that I was after. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for bringing us that information. One personal ward item I'd like to mention is the increase in vandalism around the Bowls Club at Norton Common, where currently they've had to board up all of their windows. I was wondering if it might be that could be put as an area for our PCSO to cover more often. And then I was wondering if anybody had any questions from the committee. Yes, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. That was really informative. Those figures for Letchworth, how do they compare to pre-COVID? Is this increase, or what do you attribute the increase to? Is this things normalising or just things getting worse? That those numbers seemed quite shocking to me.
They have increased. I personally would put that down to COVID is finished. People are out and about more. Yeah, I think the fact that COVID is finished and people are out. The catalytic converters that have been stolen in Letchworth and in North Herts, that's been a county-wide thing. I know a lot of arrests have been made from road policing units. And these gangs have been operated in Bedfordshire and Cambridge as well. So a lot of work has been done, but it was kind of picking up the pieces once it had happened. So we've been sort of educating the residents about what they can do to try and secure their cat converters and prevent, hopefully, their number plates from being stolen as well. So we've done some preventative work around that.
It's more that the data from last year was down rather than it being up this year, or if we were to look before COVID, do you think it would still be up?
I'd have to look. I don't know off the top of my head. In my mind, it seems to be steadily rising.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Councillor Plater.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a question potentially about drug crimes and county lines is something that, you know, we hear a lot of in the media. Do you have data and figures on specifically on those crimes in the local area and how prevalent they are?
So with sort of drug crimes, we do work around that. I haven't got the data with me, but I can supply that if necessary. We look at a thing called cuckooing. I don't know if many of you know that term of cuckooing and what it means. So around sort of safeguarding vulnerable people. That would be something that the neighbourhood team and intervention and plainclothes officers will come into contact with those sort of people for various reasons. We do record that sort of thing, and once we establish that an address is being used and we suspect that the person's vulnerable and there's drug dealing going on, that kind of thing, then we sort of label it as cuckooing, and there's a safety net case that's put in place, and we look at speaking to other agencies and anyone that can possibly help with sort of sorting out the problem and putting a stop to it. It's not just a case of carrying out a warrant, it's the safeguarding and the long-term aspects of it. So we've got that recorded, and we have SOPs in place as to what we do when we suspect that that's happening. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Councillor Thomas.
Sorry, my second question. Letchworth seems to be somewhat disproportionately represented when I think about its size versus the other towns in the district. Is that a common trend? Is that new? Was that an accurate sort of read of those stats as you were reading them out?
I mean by
it seems like 2,600 in total out of 5,900 seems almost half when we're one of four towns. And I know we're one of the larger towns in the district, but still that seems that we're overrepresented.
I don't know, in honesty, why. I mean, I can sort of explain that we are the neighbourhood team at Letchworth. We've got some of the neighbourhood team at Royston and the same at Hitchin. The intervention teams that respond to the 999 calls are based predominantly in Hitchin. I haven't got the facts of how many calls have come in. That's the crimes, but calls is another data by itself. I don't know, you know, obviously in the ideal world, the more patrolling that happens and crime prevention work that's done is better. But why exactly there has been such a huge increase in crime in general, it seems to me. My feeling is that there's not enough police officers. It's the bottom line. I think that's what we're talking about. We've had a problem with retention and recruitment. There's a lot of young officers that are being recruited presently. A lot of left. I think that's a big factor personally. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I can't see any other questions at the moment. So in that case, Sergeant Perks, thank you very much for coming along and giving us that information. Very much appreciate you taking the time to do that. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you are welcome to leave.
So if I could make sure that I have the list of all the councillors, because when I do the priority setting forum and I send out an email inviting everyone, I just want to make sure I've got all your names and that you have an opportunity to join in on that meeting and ask any questions or put your views forward.
I can confirm with the officers that that will be done.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right, we move on to public participation. Can I invite Amy Flack, the Community Engagement Officer, to update members on our budgets?
Thank you, Chair. As outlined in Appendix 1, the 2022 to 2023 base budget was £11,000, with £2,956 carried forward from the 2021 to 2022 budget, giving a total budget for the year of £13,956. Grants awarded to date total £11,814. This leaves a budget available of £2,142. The grant applications for this meeting total £1,858, and if the members agree the grants outlined in this report, this will leave a balance of £284 to carry forward into the 2023 to 24 budget.
Excellent, thank you very much. All right, I would like to invite, when he is ready, there's no rush. I would like to invite Raymond Wilson from Green Care at Norton CIC to present to us about his Councillor Plater. Sorry, my apologies, Mr. Wilson. Councillor Plater.
That's okay, and I apologise for coming in here. Just I would note, usually at this point in the agenda, we'd usually have a report from the Letchworth bid. Obviously they're not here tonight to report to us. And I know, and I should have done this earlier, and I apologise, Chair, in the minutes of the last meeting, we spoke about having a director or somebody from the bid come to the committee to explain some of the issues and challenges that they've faced.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered if at this point you'd be able to update us on sort of why the bid aren't here tonight, and also whether we'd be able to get someone to explain those challenges.
I am able to explain that, Councillor Plater. There was an error made within the council on sending out an invitation to the bid. That's why they're not here. It's not because they're avoiding us, it's because there was a mistake made and they weren't invited. However, what I can update everybody on, I am the council's representative on the Letchworth bid, and I'm very happy to say they have now employed a town centre manager, a gentleman by the name of Richard Harben, who has got a very good experience in event management, and I think will be an absolute bonus to Letchworth, and I think he will do very, very well in the role. The bid are looking at what they're going to do about applying to continue their status, which I believe comes up next year for bid renewal. Yes. So I believe they're just looking into that and speaking with the different shops in the town at the moment, and I am sure they'll be more than happy to come along to the next meeting. So yes, that will be the reasons they are not here. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fantastic, Chair. Thank you very much. And I look forward to meeting the new bid manager when he comes to the meeting.
Wonderful. In that case, my apologies for the interruption there. Can I invite Raymond Wilson from Green Care at Norton CIC to present his request?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. After all that heavy duty stuff from the police, this might seem quite different. I'm sure some of you are well aware of what we do as a charity, what our aims are, who we work with. So I'm going to use my 5 minutes to say why we want this money for this purpose. So I've asked for funding for hydroponics units. Now, the reason for that is we come across every now and then vulnerable adults who we'd like to include, but for various reasons, they can't go outdoors, or the mental health won't allow them outdoors and so on. We want to include them. So we trialed one of these hydroponics units, which is basically an indoor garden. So what we would do is let the participant loan this unit and grow indoors a range of things. For those not familiar with hydroponics, it's very much the future of growing on a big scale. It's in wide use already, but it's about being able to include people who wouldn't normally be able to participate in the more rigorous outdoor activities. And, you know, they do have benefits. They don't use compost. So over the lifetime of these units, there's a saving on composts. The lighting units are all very low wattage LEDs. And again, very, very economical to run. And we've sort of teamed up with Create Community, and it's some of their participants that this is aiming for. The other thing is, so that the hydroponics are all about including more people in what we do. The dehydrating unit, which sounds very dull indeed, is about cutting down on waste. At the end of last season, I was aware that, for example, we threw away a lot of tomatoes, for example, that were going past their date, nobody wanted them, and so on. You know, with a dehydrating unit, you can put them in, dry them out, stick them in olive oil, they'll keep forever. You know, we have sun-dried tomatoes, basically. Same with herbs. You know, you can dry herbs. The other thing we do is we do cut flowers, and quite often the blooms are not quite saleable. So you can compost them. But what we have been doing is taking the petals off, drying them out in people's own ovens that through goodwill, which is a very long process, and then bagging them up and selling them as either confetti or potpourri. And that's a neat idea. But that cuts down, you know, stuff that would normally go on the compost heap can be dried, repurposed. And underpinning a lot of this is everybody I work with is long-term unemployed, right? And we're aiming to give them some very basic business skills about how you can grow stuff, how you can sell it, how you can make money out of it, giving them, you know, some, you know, sharing with them the economics of what we do. So giving them that sort of skill, as well as the practical horticulture skills. So that's about it, really. You know, those two things. So one about cutting down on waste, and the other one about including more people in what we do. I think that might be 5 minutes. Felt like 5 minutes. Felt like 5 hours.
It was 4. You did very well. Thank you very much for the presentation. Now, I know that you've already come to us once this civic year, where we gave you money for the tractor.
Oh, what a great thing that was, yeah.
I was wondering if you could let us know a little bit more about that.
That has been an absolute game changer. Yeah, and again, when I came to that meeting, people going, what? What do you want to buy? The walking tractor has enabled us to cultivate large areas, right? So we are now, as much as anything, striving to be a social enterprise, as I've just said, you know, with our participants. We can cut 100-foot bed in about 5 minutes. It would take people with spades and forks about 5 hours. So it speeds up the whole process of cultivating the land, preparing the land for sowing and transplanting. And also we bought a plough attachment for it, which will be getting some exercise over the coming weeks when we plant 60 kilos of seed potatoes.
That's brilliant. I'm sorry to go off the general presentation that we're having here, councillors. I just wanted to pass on the fact that we have already given £1,000 to the Norton CIC. I think, however, that this is still well within the amount of money that we would give. So I personally have no issues with that. My questions to you, and then I will pass on to other councillors, were: have you looked at working with other local charities as far as the excess food goes, such as the Best Before Cafe or the Wilbury Community Cafe?
Right. Last season or season before, we donate, or we have donated in the past, quite a lot of food to food banks and that sort of thing. I'll be blunt about it. They're not awfully mad about fresh produce, because it tends not to keep very well. You know, they seem to be a lot more interested in tins and packets and that sort of thing. But we have given quite a bit of it away. And again, I was conscious this last season that we had some surplus, and what we're planning to do this season is we've spoken to one of the churches on Grange Estate and thinking about using them as a bit of a hub just for giving this stuff away, you know, because it went through me a bit last year. We did throw away too much. I'll admit to that, but we do need to find a charity, find someone who is enthusiastic about fresh stuff. And anticipating the shortage of tomatoes and potatoes this year, I think we'll be fighting them off with a stick. Looking at my councillors in front of me, I think quite a few of them will be contacting you with suggestions about people that might be interested. Councillor Plater.
Yeah, not much for me. I'd just like to say that I think it's fantastic, and you know, really sort of ahead of the curve with the dehydration and the drying, and I think I'd like to propose the full amount be given.
Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Chair. How many residents on average use your project?
Our current active list is about 24, 25. In the 3 or 4 years since we've been set up now, we probably work with over 50 people now. But I try not to get the numbers too big, because quite a number of our people have got very high level needs. So they need, you know, so quite a lot of one-to-one input.
It's a fair amount of people. Can I just ask, can I have a follow-up question? It says here that the total project cost is £898. You're asking us for £698. £200 of it's going to come out of your reserves. Do you have a huge amount of reserves? Is that
a huge amount?
Yeah, but the reason I ask is I was going to make a suggestion, because we're going to carry money over into the next financial year otherwise, is that I can't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to potentially fund the whole cost of the project.
Oh.
Let me just confirm that with officers.
Because I would imagine you'll have unexpected costs that will come up instead of dipping into your reserves.
There's a lot at the moment.
Right. Having just confirmed with Amy, we do have the money, as was said at the beginning, that would cover that. Councillor Plater, would you like to amend your proposal?
Indeed, I would, Chair. Based on your statement just now and Councillor Prendergast's idea, I'd like to amend my proposal that we give the full amount of the project. My tablet's just gone dead. The £898 for the project. Thank you.
More than happy to second that.
Okay. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. So for the 5 indoor hydroponics units, you've mentioned that about for those potentially doing things at home. Does that require transport at all, or is it done within your own premises in an indoor area?
Yeah, we've probably not quite figured that. So we would have units at the hub station there, because as I say, we're working ever closer with them these days. But I have no aversion to people having them in their own homes, because, you know, the chances of, you know, them going astray or what have you, you know, they're not exactly a thieves' target or whatever, you know, they not unless you're really interested in this, but yeah, it will be both. Sorry, yes, the answer is both.
Councillor Amy Allen.
I just want to say I think it's fantastic that there's this initiative in place just to reduce the food waste. As you know, reducing food waste is one of my most favourite things to do. And also I think that by having the dehydrator, it will, done stuff like this at home, it will significantly reduce your energy costs. Rather than having an oven on low for several hours, days, however long it takes to get it done properly. I was going to suggest the full amount, but everyone's beat me to the punch. So I just wanted to wholeheartedly give my support, and I'll be voting for this.
Right. We have a proposer and we have a seconder. The recommendation is to give the full amount of £898 to Green Care at Norton CIC towards equipment for the next phase of their development, as outlined in paragraphs 8.1.1 to 8.1.7 of the officer's report. Please can we go to the vote?
Chair, that motion is carried.
And it is carried unanimously. We are very happy to support you. Thank you very much.
Before I disappear, just say something. We started in 2019, myself, an allotment plot, a bag of compost, and a guy with very big difficulties. And where we are today is a million miles away from that. But we have had rock solid support from this council from day one. And there's no way we would be where we are now without this council. And I'm not just saying that. That is the absolute truth. Not only at things like this, but people, you've been to see us, you know, actually taking an interest in what we do. And I am really grateful for your support. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. You are welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. And speaking of going, Councillors Daniel Allen and Amy Allen have to declare an interest in our next item, the Letchworth Garden Shed project, and we have to leave the room. So I am going to leave you in the very, very capable hands of Councillor Pendergast. Councillor Allen.
Don't we have to vote Sean in to be chair for this item?
Just he's vice chair.
Yeah, so Councillor Prendergast is the elected vice chair for the year. So yeah, he takes over in the chair's absence.
I need to see the screen.
So
don't I?
you need to swap the thing over.
I suppose it doesn't matter. Does it? Wait for them to vacate. Rubbish. Okay, thank you. On to our next public speaker. Can I invite Angela Bell from Letchworth Garden Shed to present, please?
Hi there. Good evening, committee members. I'm Angela. I'm the chair of the Letchworth Garden Shed. Thank you for your time this evening. Usually when I talk about our project, I present many lovely pictures, and I would urge you to look at our website and the social media to see the very many lovely pictures. But I'm here tonight asking for money, and so I thought it was fitting to focus on the numbers. I'm here asking for £1,160 for our Library of Things, opening, we hope, in May. A Library of Things is a new-ish concept. People join up and then they can borrow a range of 80 to 100 different kinds of tools or equipment or appliances for just a few pounds. Essentially, it's a way of us sharing more as a community, sharing things and sharing know-how. Starting with the things, a well-run, reliable library of things in town means that people can do things without having to buy the equipment outright. Buying less because you can borrow more is clearly good for the planet. Plymouth's Library of Things ran a survey and found that without it, 44% of their members would have gone ahead and just bought something new. Based on the impact reports of other libraries of things, we estimate that in our first year, we will help the community collectively save around 32 tonnes of carbon emissions. A library of things is also really good for people. Many of us are concerned about the environment and are already looking for ways to live more sustainably. It's good for people who are concerned about clutter in their homes. A slightly alarming study we found showed that the average British home loses 50 square foot to clutter at the moment. But what's most compelling for us right now is the way that a library of things is good for people who are struggling financially. We are all living through this cost of living crisis together. And we, the LGS, are very aware that 1 in 5 Letchworth households are trapped in poverty. That same survey in Plymouth showed that without a library of things, almost 1/3 of their members would have just abandoned the task or the activity. A library of things allows people who are struggling to do useful tasks that they wouldn't be able to otherwise, like sew curtains or put up shelves, but it also lets them do things just because they're fun and life enhancing. In a town with a library of things, everyone can have a richer life without spending a lot of money, and everyone can be more thoughtful about what they do buy. There are around 40 already up and running in the UK, and we think Letchworth deserves one too. Other libraries of things have told us it's important to have multiples of the most popular items. So we're anticipating gathering around 300 items of stock. Part of the funding that we're asking for tonight is for shelving to store these items, bought secondhand because we're walking the sustainability walk as well as talking the sustainability talk. As I mentioned before, this is a relatively new concept, new to people in Letchworth. And so spending money on good shelving is really important, not only to being well run and reliable, but also looking well run and reliable, and thereby encouraging confidence in our community. Thanks to the goodwill of the LGC Heritage Foundation and its faith in our project, unlike most libraries of things, we are going to be located in a really central premises with great big windows and a lot of space for events. This is what will allow us to share the know-how that I mentioned before. We plan to run at least 5 skills classes in our first year and 4 repair days. Repair days, you may be familiar with one that they run in Hitchin at the Hack Space. They're basically events where people bring along their broken appliances, ripped clothing, small items of furniture, and so on, for a team of volunteers to try and fix for free. It's these repair events that we're asking for the balance of the funding. The trestle tables will be used to set up workstations for each fixer. During the rest of the year, of course, these will go back into our general stock and be available for anybody to borrow for their own events. The monitor will allow fixers to refer to online how-to clips and product guides as they're working. Again, these items will all be sourced secondhand, and our repair event is our first repair event is already scheduled in for June to coincide with the Letchworth Festival, and we expect to repair around 120 items in our first year that would otherwise be thrown out. All of this, it's admittedly really ambitious, and we understand that making this good thing happen is going to take more than just the time and the planning we've been putting into it. It's going to take engagement with and involvement of the community, including local businesses and local bodies. I am thankful for your consideration this evening to be part of that involvement.
Thank you, Angela. I have to say, I think it's absolutely fantastic. What a great idea. The sustainability of this project is absolutely fantastic. Very excited to see it in operation. Any questions? Councillor Plater?
Just a quick one from me. You mentioned you've got a property that the Heritage are effectively giving you a grant for the rent for. Where is the unit that you've got?
I think it's in Leys Avenue, and when we were first given the money, I put out our newsletter identifying the exact premises, and they then got an email the next day saying actually they prefer it not to be identified until we've got the lease finalized. So if you wanted to guess, I could probably tell you, but some place nice and big in Leys Avenue.
Okay. Thank you.
If the Heritage Foundation do ask, I was a model of decorum and it's the important thing, I think.
Councillor Nolan.
Thank you so much for that presentation. In terms of the skill sessions you plan to run, given that some of the items we're talking about here would involve sort of physical labour and the rest of it, and completely not giving any idea about my own DIY skills, but would first aid be a part of the skills you might be providing?
Let me see. It's very important to us that this is a community-led project. And so for the skills classes, we're going to get our members to vote on what they would like to do. However, you're so right about the first aid. And so that's going to be part of the training for all of our volunteers. If for some reason somebody runs amok with a, let's not even imagine that, but yes, we will be prepared.
Councillor Plater?
Sorry, Chair, just to follow up on that. Is everybody in the organisation a volunteer, or do you have a paid member of staff or any sort of wage staff at all within the organisation?
So far, we're all volunteers. We've got this far with just volunteers, and moving forward, virtually everybody will be a volunteer. At the moment, we're actually waiting on confirmation this Friday, hopefully. Touch for Micah, on funding from one of the housing associations, which may let us employ engage a part-time manager. I did a bunch of research last year. I drove around 5 other libraries of things, and they all said with the best will in the world, a volunteer manager isn't as organized and isn't as accountable as somebody who's being paid. So this is very much what we're aiming for. The next couple of weeks as we finalize funding are going to be crucial.
Any other questions? No, I don't see any. So the recommendation is £1,160 to Letchworth Garden Shed towards shelving units and repair day equipment as outlined in paragraphs 8.1 to 8.8, 1.12 of the officer's report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Plater?
I hope I'm not stealing anybody's thunder again, but I'm be more than happy to propose this.
And a seconder. Councillor Mantle. In that case, can we go to the vote?
Chair, that motion is carried.
Sorry? Party, and so there'll be invitations all round.
Thank you very much. I think we can bring the two Councillor Allens back into the chamber, please.
Thank you very much for taking over the chair, Sean. Right. I've got to catch up now. Grants and community update. Can I invite Amy Flack, the Community Engagement Officer, to present, please?
Thank you, Chair. The main updates of what the team have been working on are highlighted in the report. With regards to the All About Us community conference mentioned in the report, it is now fully booked, but there is a wait list. For anyone who isn't aware, the reason for the conference is that towards the end of last year, the North Hart Centre for Voluntary Service and Letchworth Heritage Foundation launched a survey aimed at all community groups in North Hart to find out the current challenges that they are facing. All respondents stated concern about spiralling overheads, growing demands on their services, reduced income, and increased pressures on funders. The conference is to discuss the themes from the survey and learn what support is needed to help groups. Members of the community team will be at the event, sharing information about the community grant scheme and helping to facilitate roundtable discussions. So it should be a really helpful day for everyone who comes. Further to the report, the organisers of Letchworth Festival have launched the dates. It will be running this year. So it will be from Friday, 2nd of June to Saturday, 24th of June. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight the North Harts Heroes ceremony that the community team organised earlier this month. 5 people were recognised and celebrated for going above and beyond, making a real difference in their community. Thank you to members who were able to come and join us on the night to celebrate. And for anyone who couldn't make it, it can be viewed on the council's YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can I also thank the community engagement team for organising that event? It was absolutely fantastic. And I'd like to send on my congratulations again formally to our 2 Letchworth winners, Tracy and Glyn, for their incredible work in the community. Right, we have heard the update. Have we got any questions for the community engagement team? No, because you're always very accessible and we can always email you. That is good. Do we need to accept that one formally? Because it's a update? We need to accept that one. Right. In that case, can I have a proposer to accept the update? Councillor Thomas. May I have a seconder? Councillor Allen. Thank you. Can we go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you very much. Right. Ward and outside organisation members' reports. An email has been circulated to members from committee services as part of the annual review into outside organisations. I'm going to go over that in a minute, but first, does anyone have anything to share with us? Councillor Mantle.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor Allen. The Mrs. Howard Hall
is owned by this council, and we have now, after about 8 years of negotiations, it has been a lease has been agreed with a voluntary organisation who actually run the hall. I thought it would be useful to alert this committee to that fact. It's actually solvent. It's run by teams of volunteers with a professional manager who is extremely competent, and it is a valuable community facility. And as a result of the lease, there's now stability there for at least 25 years, we can but hope. Hopefully a lot longer, but given that it's a listed building and important for that reason as well, I thought it important to let the committee know how it was progressing, because it's something you probably don't normally think about, the community centres. That's one which is going as it should be.
Thank you very much for that update, Councillor Mantle. That is a real benefit to Letchworth, Mrs. Howard Hall. I don't think there's anyone in here that hasn't been to a party in that hall at some point, or to a community group in that hall, or to a club in that hall. So I'm really happy to hear that it is nice and stable. Is there any other comments from ward or outside organisations? Councillor Nolan.
I think this is the right section for this. I was recently invited out by Settle to attend one of their community days out in Jackman's estate. It's one that I think it's an activity they're looking to undertake in pretty much all their estates around the area. So if you do get contacted, I'd really urge all councillors to try and make it for at least a bit of time if they can do. Was out with a number of the members of the probably higher up the organisation, so a number of the department leads were there, assisting as I tried to do with cleaning up leaves and scrubbing concrete as well, which I think I just about managed without getting too many blisters. It was a really good event, and there was a lot of good communication with members of the community as well. Both very grateful for the work and able then to raise issues as well with Settle. So yeah, just urge everyone, if you get the chance to join in with one of those days, if they do pop up in your ward.
Thank you very much. One thing from my ward, as I am sure you will have all heard on social media, and if you've had the joy of going to the Grange over the last week, there was some traffic chaos. Just a bit. I'd just like to state, obviously, that's not an HDC thing. However, the reason behind that is there was emergency works that were taking place that happened to coincide with planned works that were taking place. And that is what caused the issues. It wasn't something that could be changed at the last minute. It was something that happened. But I just wanted to let it go on record that it wasn't bad planning from HCC. This was actually just a genuine issue with an accident happening at the same time, as an emergency happening at the same time as planned works. So that's just a little something from the Grange. I can't see anybody else that has anything to bring up here, so I would like to mention the outside organisation's email that has been sent detailing a questionnaire to be carried out by members who are appointed as council representatives on outside organisations. If you are an appointed representative, you will have had this email. One thing that I noticed when I filled it in earlier today was if you are on more than one board, which I know a couple of you are, you will have to fill it in separately each time. So please do fill in the questionnaire that's been sent by committee services. My next point to bring up is we have councillor surgery this Saturday. Your councillors will be in town, available for you to talk to. We will be based outside Pound Stretcher and Iceland. We're opposite the two, Poundland and Iceland. We're opposite the two areas there. I know a couple of councillors won't be able to attend because they're working. If you are able to attend, please do your best to come along, and we look forward to seeing you there. And if anyone can help carry the heavy gazebo out, you may have noticed that I won't be able to this time. Do members have any other updates for the committee? No. In that case, I would like to bring this meeting to a close at 8:24. Thank you very much to officers and members for attending.